Last week, I found out my parents left everything to my unemployed brother. Everything. The house I helped save, the insurance I helped pay, not even a thank you, just a folder, and silence. I was at my parents' house in Mesa, Arizona. You know those cookie-cutter desert homes with pebbled yards and faded stucco? Yeah, that one. I wasn't there for anything big, just helping Dad scan some insurance stuff. He never figured out how to work that printer-scanner combo I bought them 10 years ago. I'd done this kind of thing a million times. I'd drop by, scan forms, pay whatever needed paying, check their credit card late fees, then grab some Gatorade from the garage fridge before heading home. It was routine, familiar, easy. But that morning felt off. Maybe it was the way Mom barely looked up from her crossword, or the weird energy Dad had, like he wanted to say something but didn't. Anyway, I sat at the dining table flipping through the usual pile Medicare stuff, lab reports, utility bills. Then I saw a thick cream folder, labeled in Mom's handwriting, estate plan, final copy. I didn't mean to open it, but I'd just paid their property tax bill 2 days ago, $178.41 to be exact. I even set up the payment while on a Zoom meeting. I do this stuff without thinking anymore. So yeah, I opened it. And I wish I hadn't. Inside will documents, notarized 2 months ago, house fully paid off, remaining retirement, life insurance, all going to my brother Tyler. Tyler freaking Morgan. No job, no savings, living at home again after another failed crypto launch. This man once tried to pitch me on investing in mining rigs while asking for gas money. And there it was, my name, Rachel Morgan, mentioned once. We love both of our children equally and trust them to care for one another. That line hit like a slap I didn't see coming. Like, are you serious? No note, no thanks for covering their meds when insurance lapsed, no nod to the mortgage I floated after Dad's layoff, no line about the $11K I wired from my own savings in 2021 so they could keep the AC going during a brutal summer. Nothing. Just trust, care for one another. Screw that. I just sat there, staring at the paper while the scanner hummed next to me like nothing was wrong. My hands were steady, but my breath wasn't. Then Dad walked in, sipping his usual lukewarm coffee in that world's best grandpa mug Tyler gave him. Ironically, "You getting through that stack, Rach?" I held up the folder, no yelling, just, "Is this real?" Everything goes to Tyler. He froze mid-sip. That sigh he let out, I knew it. That wasn't a surprise sigh. That was the kind of sigh you give when you've already played the scene in your head. It's not what you think. Classic. Then what is it, I said. He looked tired, and also like he expected me to understand. You've always done well. Rachel, you're steady, you've got your own place, your work, you're good. Right. I'm good. So I guess that means I don't need anything. Translation: we gave everything to the one who keeps falling, because you never ask. They didn't ask what it cost me. A year ago, I replaced the porch swing after the old one collapsed during monsoon season. Didn't even tell them. I just paid a guy off TaskRabbit and had it installed before they got home from visiting Aunt Brenda. $600 in 2 hours of my Saturday. Tyler said he was between gigs. That was his excuse. Same as when I paid their internet bill last October. Same as when they needed car repairs in 2020, or groceries during COVID, or when I dropped off blood pressure meds last Thanksgiving after Mom forgot to refill them. They never had to ask me. That was the point. I showed up every single time, and now I was a footnote in their life plan. I left the folder on the table, walked out to the porch and sat down on the swing I paid for. The Arizona heat hadn't kicked in fully yet, so it was quiet. The kind of quiet where you start remembering things you wish you hadn't. Like the time I turned down a promotion in Boston because Mom said she slept better knowing I was nearby. Or when I skipped a weekend getaway with friends to fix their garage door. Or how many birthday dinners I spent with them while Tyler was MIA. I wasn't bitter, not then. I just thought I was being a good daughter. I thought I was part of something, a team. Look at our little team. Mom used to say back when we painted the basement blue. Yeah, some team. She came out a few minutes later wearing that pale blue cardigan she always wears when she wants to seem soft, the one I bought her for Christmas 5 years ago. Tyler gave her a Spotify playlist that year and she said she loved both equally. She didn't sit at first. Just stood there twisting the hem like she was 12 and waiting for a scolding. Rachel, she said, we didn't mean for you to find out like that. I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to help her out of the silence. It's not that we don't love you. I cut her off. How much did you co-sign for? Her mouth opened, closed, then 35,000. I looked away. You didn't choose him because he needed it. I said, you chose him because you were already in too deep. Her eyes watered, but I didn't care. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just didn't want to pretend anymore. That night, I paused the automatic transfer I'd set up for their utility bills. I deleted the Walgreens reminder for their prescriptions. I stopped the Thursday grocery delivery. No drama, no speech. Just stopped and waited. Because I knew what was coming. And part of me wanted to see who they'd call first when the lights flickered, or the meds ran out, or the fridge stayed empty on a Thursday. This morning, I woke up to a text from Dad. Hey Rach, water bill came in kinda high. Can you check it? I stared at it for a full minute, not angry, just done, like a switch flipped and wouldn't turn back. I didn't reply. 2 days later, another one this time from Mom. We're out of the low-sodium crackers you always bring. Still no hi, no hope you're doing okay, just needs as usual. I didn't answer that one either. By the end of the first week, I started getting voicemails, Dad again. Internet's acting up. Did the auto payment fail? Nope, I canceled it. I had this sick little hope they'd maybe just figure it out. Like maybe Tyler would suddenly be useful and step up for once in his adult life. But we both know that's a joke. Second week, Mom's messages got more blunt. Mortgage due the 1st. Can you send what you usually do? Not even a please, just a reminder like I'm some assistant on payroll, not their daughter, not the one who's been carrying their bills for 5 years. I typed, ask Tyler, it's his house now. Hit send. I didn't wait for the fallout. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. Then came the flood. Rachel, don't do this. We need to talk. This isn't like you. No, it's not, because for the first time in a long damn time, I wasn't setting myself on fire to keep them warm. Later that night, Tyler chimed in. Danny, don't make this dramatic. Just help them. Like always. Like always. Like I was some family vending machine. Insert guilt, get money. Repeat. I replied. You're the one they chose, Tyler, so be the choice. No response. Oh. A full day passed. Then Mom sent a transfer request. $3,200. Exact amount for the overdue mortgage plus late fees. No message, no emoji, just numbers. I declined it. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Then again, then again. The next message from Dad. You'd let your own parents go homeless. I almost laughed. No joke. I read that line 3 times and just sat there shaking my head. Because here's the thing, they weren't homeless. They were just uncomfortable for the first time, feeling a pinch they'd handed to me for years without blinking. They'd built a life on the idea that Rachel would catch it. Whatever it was, late bills, medical stuff, Tyler's third startup, missed insurance, broken furnace. I was the soft landing, the safety net, the default setting. And I'd finally hit off. The quiet that followed was weird. A whole week went by without a single call, no messages, no guilt paragraphs from Mom, not even a "Hey, are you okay?" And it was glorious. I was sleeping better, actually cooking for myself, listening to music while folding my own damn laundry, not rushing out to drive them to appointments or reorder meds or buy last-minute groceries. But silence in my family doesn't mean peace. It just means they're building a new strategy. Sure enough, week 3, Aunt Lila left me a voicemail. Sweetheart, I don't want to get in the middle, but your mom's real upset. Maybe just talk to her. There it is. I checked Facebook. Bingo. A photo of my parents standing on the porch, arms around each other, captioned. We gave everything to our children, but sometimes giving isn't enough. Barf. Dozens of likes, concerned aunties, distant cousins commenting stuff like, "You two are such amazing parents. You don't deserve this stress. This generation just doesn't understand sacrifice." Then I saw it, Tyler's comment. Some people think family is about money, but real family shows up. That man hasn't paid rent in 6 years. He once spent $800 on NFTs of pixelated raccoons. But yeah, he shows up. I didn't reply. I didn't even rage scroll. I just felt hollow. It's one thing to be cut out of the will. It's another to be cast as the villain. Like everything I gave was suddenly invisible, and my silence turned me into a monster. Even Kelly, my cousin who once told me I was the glue in this family, liked the post. Not commented, just a heart. But that hit harder than all the comments. Maybe because I thought she got it. Maybe because I'd covered her plane ticket to Grandma's funeral 3 years ago without telling anyone. I closed the app, made dinner, poured myself a glass of wine. Still didn't call them. Next day, a plain envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name. Inside, a copy of the foreclosure notice, not addressed to me, just a carbon copy. I flipped it over and wrote one line on the back. Maybe you should have left it to someone who could manage it. I didn't send it. I just needed to say it, even silently. Later that night, I checked the county site. Their property was officially flagged, behind on payments, no safety net. They'd burned through the savings. Probably trying to keep things looking normal, hoping I'd cave before things got bad. But I didn't call the bank. I didn't wire another emergency check. I didn't drive over with groceries. I poured another glass of wine, sat at my kitchen table, and let the house fall without me. Because sometimes you don't need to set the fire. You just need to stop carrying the water. The next morning, Mom posted a sunflower emoji with a photo of her and Dad on the porch. Caption: We raise them with love, but sometimes love isn't enough. Right. Emotional terrorism wrapped in a filter. A day later, Dad followed up. We gave everything to our kids: time, money, love. We thought we raised them right, but you can't control who turns their back on you. And he tagged me. No call, no message, just a public post. Dozens of likes, cousins chiming in. So sorry you're going through this. You two deserve better. And Tyler, of course he shared the post, with a caption. Some people only care when they're getting something. I'd give anything to protect Mom and Dad. I had to read that twice. The man who took every last dollar they had, who couldn't name their medication or bank name, who once forgot Dad's birthday and covered it with an Amazon gift card I bought. That man was now the hero. And the villain? I still didn't respond. But something inside me cracked. Not loud, not dramatic. Just final little click. And I knew something was done irrevocably. They didn't just rewrite the story. They erased me from it. They came on a Thursday. I was halfway through a client call when the front desk buzzed my line. Hi, Miss Morgan, there's a man and woman here. Say they're your parents, and a third person, your brother. They said it's urgent. I swear my brain blanked for a second. I just stared at the light blinking on the phone. Urgent. Now it's urgent. They ignored years of quiet giving, forgot my name in legal paperwork, turned me into a social media villain, but now it's urgent. I took a breath. Calm, controlled. Tell them I'm unavailable, and that they're not expected. The receptionist hesitated. They said they'll wait. Of course they did. I finished my meeting, replied to 2 emails, took my damn time. Then I went downstairs. They were standing in the lobby like it was a family reunion. Dad had that tense, stiff posture like he was ready to deliver a lecture. Mom clutched her purse in both hands, nervous, eyes darting. Tyler looked like he wanted to be anywhere else, or maybe he thought this would be easier. He always assumed people would come around eventually. They turned when I walked in. I didn't say anything. Didn't smile. Didn't soften. Just stood across from them with arms crossed, waiting. Mom stepped forward first. Rachel, honey, we need to talk. I looked at her, then past her, out the window, anything but that face. You really gonna let us lose the house? Dad asked, straight to the point, no warm-up. I didn't blink. You really thought I wouldn't? That shut him up. Mom's tone dropped into that soft, pleading register she pulls when she wants to sound delicate. We thought you'd understand. You've always been strong. God, I hate that word now. Strong. It's what people say when they want to forget your needs, when they want to dump things on you without guilt. You used that as an excuse to forget me, I said, calm, sharp. Tyler muttered something behind them. I didn't ask for any of this. I looked at him. But you took it. He didn't answer. Didn't even look me in the eye. Dad's voice got harder. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. You owe us something. That one almost made me laugh. I paid that debt already. I said monthly for years, and you erased me anyway. Mom looked like she wanted to cry. We didn't mean to hurt you. Then why did you wait until I disappeared before realizing I was holding everything up? No answer. Just silence. I took one step closer, not angry, just done. You're not coming up. You're not coming in. I won't be your backup plan anymore. Dad's jaw clenched. Tyler shifted his weight. Mom's eyes glassed over. They stood there, this trio that once called themselves my family. And I walked past them, out the door, didn't look back, didn't check if they followed. I just walked down the street like I hadn't just cut ties with the people who built me. Because I didn't. I'd already spent my whole life building them. That afternoon, I sat in my apartment and listened to the silence. No buzzing phone. No messages. No emotional blackmail. It felt hollow, but also clean. For the first time, I wasn't holding my breath waiting for the next ask. It lasted 3 days. Then Mom texted, "Can you reconsider? Just for a month, we're talking to the bank." Followed by, "This isn't who you are." You know what? She's right. This wasn't who I was. I was the one who always fixed it. Always paid. Always showed up. Now, I was someone else. The following weekend, I got a letter. Real mail, envelope, handwritten. It was from Aunt Trish. "I know it's not my place, but I've never seen your parents so scared. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe Tyler's not telling the whole truth. He said they gave him everything because you said you didn't want any of it. WTF. Now it's my fault they left him the house. He's out here rewriting history while the mortgage burns, and they're buying it. Or pretending to." I didn't answer. Didn't call to clear my name. Let them believe it. If they can't remember who I really was after all I did, then I'm not wasting breath on reminding them. Let Tyler be their savior. Let him find the missing money, the payments, the repairs, the groceries, the meds. Let him do it all. Let him carry it. Spoiler, he didn't. A week later, the foreclosure went public. House listed as at risk. Behind on payments. No grace period left. They'd tapped the last of their retirement. Burned through every safety net I'd quietly built. I didn't gloat. I didn't post quotes about karma or write cryptic messages like they did. I just made spaghetti, watched a dumb rom-com, put my phone on silent. The next day, a Venmo request popped up. From Tyler, $3,200. Caption, "We need help. I'll pay you back." I stared at it. No emojis, no explanation, no shame. Just default mode. Assume Rachel will come through. I declined. 1 minute later, a new request. $1,800. Caption, "Okay, just half." Declined again. Phone rang. I let it ring. Then a message. "You're really gonna do this?" I didn't reply. He followed up. "They're gonna lose everything." And that's when I snapped. I typed, "No, you made them lose everything. You took it, spent it, let them believe you were a solution instead of the problem, and they chose you, so figure it out." Sent. Blocked him. Didn't unblock. Didn't waver. I didn't need revenge. I just needed them to feel the weight I'd been carrying quietly for years. 3 days later, a new post went up. This time from Tyler's girlfriend. A selfie of them on the porch with a quote overlay. "When people stop helping, you find out who's real." Followed by a GoFundMe link. For the house. For the parents abandoned by their daughter. No names, but they didn't have to. Everyone who knew us knew exactly what it was. I didn't report it. Didn't comment. Didn't defend myself. I just watched the donations crawl up slowly. $20 here, 10 there, comments from friends of friends saying, "You deserve better." Can't believe your own child would turn her back. Let them think that. Let them throw money at a hole they dug. Let them believe Tyler was ever going to save them. Because I was done pretending. Done explaining. Done showing up. They didn't lose me when they rewrote the will. They lost me when they gambled on the one who never paid a bill in his life. The GoFundMe stayed up for 2 weeks. They raised maybe $340. Someone named Linda P. chipped in $50 and commented, "Family means sacrifice. I hope she sees this." Cute. Meanwhile, Tyler posted selfies from the gym and a TikTok about protecting your energy. I wish I was joking. Every time I checked the page, it felt like watching a slow train wreck. You know the kind you don't want to look, but you can't stop either. Mom updated the fundraiser with a new paragraph. "This is the home we raised our children in. We never thought we'd be facing this alone." Alone. Like I hadn't spent 10 years quietly wiring money, canceling my own vacations to bail them out, skipping therapy sessions I couldn't afford because their needs came first. They weren't alone. They just finally ran out of people to take advantage of. Week 3 of silence was weirdly peaceful. I had my playlist going. I worked out. I even went out with friends and didn't leave early to check my phone. But part of me kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it did. One morning I opened my email and saw a notice from a property records alert I'd set up years ago when I helped them refinance. The house had officially been listed for pre-foreclosure auction. Date 45 days out. They hadn't told me. They hadn't even tried. Not a text, not a call, nothing. It wasn't until that afternoon that Mom reached out again. Her message. "We're scared. Can we meet?" I didn't answer. She followed with, "Tyler is overwhelmed. He didn't realize how fast this would spiral. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe. I took a walk around the block to cool down, but my head was buzzing. I passed 3 other houses just like theirs, faded stucco, dead grass, porch chairs no one sat in, and all I could think was they thought they were invincible. They thought I was permanent. That I would never leave because I never had. They didn't realize that even the most reliable people have limits. Back at home, I poured myself some iced tea, sat down, and opened my laptop. There were 12 missed calls from Mom. 4 from Dad. 2 from a number I didn't recognize later, found out it was a local lawyer. Probably Tyler scrambling to understand their options. Too late. The thing about building your life on someone else's labor, when they walk away, it all crumbles fast. And that's what was happening. About a week later, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, Mrs. Baird, our old neighbor. She was outside her house, still wearing the same sun hat and watering her cactuses like it was 2005. She waved me over. "Rachel, I heard things got messy." I braced myself. But then she surprised me. "Your dad mentioned you hadn't been around. I just want you to know, I always saw how much you did. Every time something broke, it was your car pulling up, not his." I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear that until right then. Someone remembered. Even if my own family didn't. That night, I got a DM on Instagram from Tyler's ex, Heather. We hadn't spoken since she bailed on his 30th birthday trip, and I helped cover the Airbnb deposit. Her message. "I know it's none of my business, but I saw the GoFundMe. Just FYI, he sold 2 of your dad's old tools on OfferUp last month. Said they were just sitting there. I figured you should know." Oh. So he was liquidating assets now. Love that. I didn't even reply. What was there to say? Thanks for confirming he's still trash. Cool. The final twist came on a Monday. I was at work, eating cold pad thai at my desk, when I got a text from Kelly, my cousin, the same one who liked the post. Remember? "Hey, just wanted to let you know, your parents reached out. They're asking people to help bid on the house. Some kind of strategy to delay foreclosure." I blinked. Help bid. You mean, have friends or family buy it back and let them stay? Unbelievable. They were trying to outsource their consequences. Kelly followed up. "I said no, just thought you should know." I thanked her, briefly. I didn't need more. Then I checked Zillow. The listing was live. Photos of the house I'd once painted with my dad, the swing I'd replaced, the wind chime I'd installed for Mom on her birthday. Now captioned "Fixer-upper with potential, quick sale preferred." It hit me right in the chest. Not grief. Not anger. Just detachment. Like that version of me, the fixer, the quiet savior, was finally buried under the dust and dry rot of that crumbling porch. 2 days later, a friend texted me, "Girl, isn't this your parents' house?" Attached was a screenshot. Tyler had gone live on TikTok. Standing in the driveway, wearing sunglasses and some knockoff hoodie, saying, "We're losing the house. My sister bailed on us. My parents did everything for her. And now we're here. If you believe in family, we'd appreciate anything you can give." I watched the video 3 times. He looked like a parody of himself. And the comments. Awful. She's heartless. How can you abandon your parents? Karma's gonna get her. But then hidden among the garbage was one comment. From someone I didn't recognize. If she bailed, she probably had a reason. Parents like that don't turn overnight. And it hit me. Not everyone was buying the story. Not everyone fell for the performance. I screenshotted it, just for myself. A little reminder that maybe, just maybe, the world wasn't as blind as my family thought. By the end of the week, the GoFundMe was pulled. They shut it down quietly. No updates. No explanation. I guess even Tyler realized the pity train was running out of gas. And me. I didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't show up. I bought myself a new couch. Organized my spice rack. Went out for a solo dinner and ordered dessert without guilt. And every time my phone buzzed, I let it buzz. Because sometimes, freedom doesn't come from slamming a door. It comes from not answering when they knock. The quiet lasted longer than I thought it would. It's like once the GoFundMe flopped and the auction got real, they ran out of steam. Or maybe they realized they were fresh out of excuses and backup plans. I didn't hear from them for almost 2 weeks. No texts, no posts, hi. No guilt-tripping memes about family and forgiveness. Just silence. But you know what? No one tells you. Sometimes silence is worse. Because it makes you think about the weight you carried, about how replaceable you were the second you stopped being useful, about how easy it was for them to let the whole thing crash rather than say, "You were right, we're sorry." They never did. Instead, I found out through Zillow Yep, I checked the listing one afternoon, don't ask me why, and saw the red banner at the top sold. I stared at it for a long time. That was it. The house was gone. The porch I rebuilt, the fridge I stocked, the walls I painted, the bills I paid. Gone, just like that. No warning, no update, no acknowledgement. I didn't know if they'd been evicted already or if they were scrambling to pack. I didn't ask. Not my problem anymore. Later that evening, I went for a walk, ended up by total accident drifting toward their neighborhood. I didn't plan it. It was like muscle memory. When I got close, I slowed down, not sure why. The house looked off. Porch light off, grass yellow, swing gone. And in the window, a sign taped up. No trespassing, security cameras active. Damn. That hit harder than expected. I didn't get closer, didn't need to peek inside. I already knew what had collapsed. That house didn't keep them safe. I did. And now? I'd stepped back, let them face the weather without the umbrella I'd been holding over their heads for a decade. And they got soaked. A few days later, Mom tried again. Not a call. A letter. An actual envelope. Handwritten, like it was 1994. It was short, neat cursive, no return address, but I recognized the shaky handwriting instantly. We're staying with a friend for now. It's temporary. I know you're angry, and I understand, but we're still your parents. We need help. Tyler's doing his best, but we're not sure what comes next. Please consider calling. That was it. No apology. No ownership. Just we're still your parents. Like that was enough? Like the title alone earned them immunity from the consequences they'd spent years deflecting. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer. Didn't burn it. Didn't cry over it. Just filed it under not my job. I guess the real shift happened a few weeks after that. It started with an email. From my boss, D. Nothing dramatic, just a standard check-in. Noticed you've been more focused lately. Just wanted to say your leadership on the last project was outstanding. Keep it up. And I sat there at my desk and realized something kind of insane. I had energy again. Like real energy. I wasn't dragging myself out of bed to scan insurance forms or reorder pills. I wasn't budgeting my paycheck around someone else's crisis. No. I wasn't drowning in a quiet, constant obligation I never signed up for. I was just living my own life. And it felt of asterisk king incredible. I started saying yes to things again. Brunch with coworkers, trivia night, a weekend road trip to Flagstaff, things I used to skip because something might come up. Nothing came up. For the first time in forever, I wasn't waiting for the next fire to put out. One Saturday, I got coffee with Claire, my friend from work who'd always been too polite to ask about my family mess. Over iced lattes, she finally did. So, if you don't mind me asking, is it true what your cousin posted about you leaving your parents in debt? I didn't flinch. No, I said. What's true is they left me out of their will, drained the money I sent them, gave everything to my brother, and then showed up when they needed more. Her eyes widened. Jesus. Yeah, I paid their mortgage for 3 years, covered meds, groceries, utilities, quietly. Then they handed the keys to Tyler and called it love. She didn't say anything for a second. Then she reached across the table and touched my hand. I don't know how you held that alone for so long. I shrugged. I thought it was what good daughters did. Nah, she said, that's what manipulated daughters do. That one stuck with me. Because she was right. A month passed. Then another. Still no calls, no new posts, no updates. Just static. And I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them, the version I held in my head when I was 10, when Dad used to bring home ice cream on Fridays and Mom curled my hair before school recitals. But the real them, the ones who bled me dry and said I was strong enough to handle it. No. I didn't miss those people at all. One night, I pulled out a legal pad and did something stupid. I made a list. Everything I'd paid for in the last 7 years. It was brutal. Mortgage assistance, $11,000. Medical expenses not covered by Medicare, $3,800. Utility bills, $4,200. Groceries, I stopped counting at $7,000. Car repairs, furniture replacements, home maintenance, roughly $9,000. And that was just what I could remember. I stared at the total, $35,000 plus. I wrote next to it, paid in full, no receipt necessary. Then I tore it out and threw it away. Because I didn't need proof. Not anymore. A few nights later, I had a dream. I was back at the house. Tyler was in the garage, playing music no one wanted to hear. Mom was microwaving leftovers. Dad was yelling at the TV, and I was standing in the hallway holding the same damn bill I always held. But this time, I crumpled it. Dropped it. Walked out the front door and didn't look back. When I woke up, I felt calm. Like my brain had finally accepted something my heart already knew. I wasn't the villain in this story. I was the escape artist. The one who got out before the ship sank completely It had been 5 months. Since the texts, since the porch confrontation, since the house officially slipped from our family's grip and into someone else's hands. And in all that time, I hadn't spoken to them once. No calls. No drive-bys. No guilt-tripping from distant relatives. It was like they finally got the message. Or ran out of ways to ignore it. Then, out of nowhere, an email popped up. Subject line, "You were right." I froze. Opened it. It was from Dad. Just 4 lines. "I won't waste your time. You were right. About the house, about Tyler, about all of it. I'm sorry for the way we handled everything. I hope you're okay, Dad." No dramatic monologue. No attempt to explain it away. Just those words. You were right. I didn't know what to do with that. It didn't fix anything. It didn't refund the money or the time or the years I'd spent being the duct tape holding their lives together. But damn, it landed. I closed the email, didn't respond. Not because I was angry, honestly. I just didn't need anything from them anymore. Not validation. Not closure. Not even an apology. That's what happens when you finally reclaim your own narrative. You stop needing permission to feel the things you already know are true. 2 weeks after the email, I ran into Tyler. Not planned. I was picking up sushi at this small strip mall spot, and there he was coming out of the vape shop with a bag and his phone glued to his hand. He saw me before I could turn. We locked eyes. His face flickered somewhere between should I smile and am I about to get chewed out? I didn't say anything. Just waited. He walked over, slowly. Hey. Hey. It was weird. He looked smaller. Not in a physical way, just less inflated, like the lies and the pressure finally deflated the ego he used to carry around like armor. I heard about the email. He said, I read it, I replied. Silence. I messed up. He said, big time. I didn't know how deep in it they were until it was too late. I thought it'd work out like it always did. You know, you'd handle it. I tilted my head. Exactly. Fuss. He looked down. That moment, that 2-second eye contact after I said it. I saw it click. For the first time in his life, I think he realized what it cost me to always be the one who handled it. I'm sorry, he muttered. Not a performance, not a pitch. Just a guy who finally hit rock bottom and realized the only ladder was the one he burned years ago. I nodded. Didn't forgive him. Didn't hug him. Didn't offer to reconnect. I just said, take care of them, for real this time. Then I picked up my order and left. That night, I went home, kicked off my shoes, and curled up on my new couch. The one I bought without guilt. Without checking if my account could handle a surprise emergency fund transfer. I lit a candle. Watched an old comfort show. And scrolled through photos on my phone. Not the family ones. Those were all archived. I looked at the ones I'd taken the last few months. Sunsets, hikes, random brunches, a painting class with friends, That one time I let my hair down and danced at 2 a.m. in a dive bar because I felt free. I looked happy. Not performative happy. Not smiling for Facebook happy. Just light. It hit me then. They didn't just take money from me all those years. They took space, mental space, emotional space, whole chapters of my life where everything revolved around keeping them afloat while I treaded water. And the real revenge, I got my life back. I stopped bleeding out for people who would have let me die of paper cuts. I stopped defending myself in stories I didn't write. And I started existing, fully and unapologetically, outside of the role they shoved me into. A few months later, I got an invitation. A wedding. My cousin Kelly. Same cousin who liked the "we gave everything" post, who stayed silent while they threw me under the bus. But I guess word got around. She added a note at the bottom. Hope you'll come. I'm sorry for everything that happened. I was wrong. Another one. Another little moment of recognition. No big confrontation. No dramatic reunion. Just quiet acknowledgments from the people who watched me carry a weight and pretended they didn't see it. I didn't go to the wedding. I sent a gift. A cutting board engraved with a simple phrase. Family is more than names on paper. I didn't write a card. She'd get it. And now life is simple. I pay my own bills. Show up for myself. Water my plants, host game nights, take long drives with no destination. No one asks me for money anymore. No one calls with emergencies that aren't theirs. And when I think about them, about Tyler, about my parents, about the house, I don't feel hate. I feel nothing. And nothing is powerful. It means I'm not waiting for them to change. Not waiting for a thank you. Not waiting for an apology they probably won't ever get right. I've stopped carrying the story. And that's where real peace lives. Not in revenge. Not in winning. But in letting go without falling apart. Sometimes I wonder what people think when they see my name now. If they still believe the Facebook version. If they still whisper that I walked away too easily. But the ones who matter. They know. And I know. That's enough. Because at the end of the day, I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped crossing it. And when they noticed the silence, it was already too late. Story 2. Please, I'm begging you, don't go to Florida. I could barely get the words out. My throat burned, and every muscle in my body was trembling. From the hospital bed, I clutched my phone like a lifeline, my last shot at holding my life together. We booked it 6 months ago, my father replied flatly. My stepmother chimed in, you always make everything dramatic. Kara, we deserve this break. They hung up before I could speak again. And just like that, I knew I was on my own. Again. But here's what I hadn't known. The money they used for that tropical escape mine, a loan I sent them just weeks ago for what they claimed was a broken furnace, that money had gone straight to a resort in Key West. I texted the only people I thought might understand, a support group I'd joined but never attended. I need help. I'm alone. I have no one for my daughter. The day everything fell apart wasn't loud or dramatic. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Ordinary, predictable, until it wasn't. I was standing at the front of my 5th grade classroom, Mid-sentence about Emily Dickinson's poetry. I dwell in possibility I began, trying to inject some energy into the lesson, but the fluorescent lights overhead started to blur. The floor tilted. My vision swam like I was underwater. "Mr. Collins," one of my students asked, voice sounding far away. Then silence. Then the hard, sudden rush of the floor. When I woke up, I was on my back, ceiling tiles above me, sterile lights. The nurse and principal hovered nearby. "You fainted," someone whispered. "The paramedics are on the way." My first thought wasn't about my health. It was about my daughter, Riley. She was just down the hall in her special education classroom, and any kind of disruption sirens, stretchers, shouting sent her into full panic mode. "She needs the purple headphones," I mumbled. "Not the red, and her bunny, it has to be on the left arm, not the right." I could barely move, but my mind was sprinting in circles. I knew what Riley needed better than anyone. She was my world, my entire reason for waking up. No one else understood her the way I did. No one else even tried. On the way to the ambulance, I caught a glimpse of her. Riley was standing outside her classroom door, rocking back and forth. Her small hands were pressed tightly against her ears. When she saw me on the stretcher, she screamed, not words, just raw, guttural panic. She began slamming her head against the wall, and I couldn't get to her. It was the worst moment of my life. At the hospital, a kind-faced doctor gave me the kind of look usually reserved for people with terminal news. "You're in burnout," he said, "severe. You need inpatient care, at least 3 weeks." 3 weeks. It felt like he'd asked me to abandon my child. I choked, I can't leave her." "If you don't," he said, "you won't make it another month." I had no one else. Riley's dad bailed when she was 4, saying he wasn't cut out for this kind of parenting. So I called the only other option I had, my parents. I explained everything, the collapse, the diagnosis, the treatment plan, and they said, "You need to find someone else." It wasn't always this way. There was a time I thought I could handle it all. My days began before sunrise. Riley's breakfast had to be identical every morning. Scrambled eggs shaped like stars, strawberries sliced in triangles, her juice in a clear cup with no logo. One mistake and the whole day would spiral into tears, screaming, shutdowns. After I dropped her off at school, I ran to my own classroom, fueled by bad coffee and sheer adrenaline. No breaks, no time to breathe. Speech therapy on Mondays, occupational therapy on Tuesdays, behavioral sessions on Thursdays. Dinner had to follow a strict rotation of 5 approved meals. And bedtime involved a checklist of 13 steps, including the exact temperature of her bath. Once she was asleep, I would grade papers until midnight. That wasn't parenting, it was triage. And I had no backup. I used to think my parents were just emotionally distant. Now, I think they were actively harmful. They criticized me constantly, not out of cruelty. They'd say, out of love. When Riley was diagnosed, my mom just said, "Are you sure she just seems high energy?" And when I explained it was autism, she winced, like I'd said a dirty word. Dad's response, "Don't label her, you'll make things worse." So I stopped trying to get them to understand. Instead, I just gave them money. When they said they needed help paying for insurance, I sent it. When they said the plumbing failed, I sent more. Turns out, they didn't need a new water heater. They needed margaritas. That night, I sat in my hospital bed and stared at my phone screen. The support group had responded, "We're here. Tell us what you need." I cried harder than I had in years. Then I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I called my brother. I hadn't seen Aiden in 5 years. He left our family behind the second he turned 18, said he was done being the invisible child. He lived in another state, had a job in IT, and rarely picked up the phone. But he answered on the third ring. "Kara," he said, voice cautious, "what's wrong?" "I need help," I said. "Please, I don't have anyone else." There was a pause. Then, "Text me the hospital name. I'll be there in 4 hours." When Aiden walked into my room that night, I barely recognized him. He looked healthy, grounded, like he'd escaped the quicksand I was still drowning in. "You look like hell," he said gently, setting down a bag of snacks and charging cables. I laughed through tears. "I missed you," I whispered. "I missed me too," he said. By the second morning, I'd almost convinced myself I was overreacting, that maybe my parents were right, maybe I was too dramatic. Then Aiden showed me the photo. He slid his phone across the hospital tray with no warning. On screen, our parents, grinning in front of a palm tree-lined condo in Key West. The caption read, "After years of sacrifice, we finally made it. #deserved #retirement dream." The date on the post, 1 week after I wired them $2,500 for a medical emergency. "They said they couldn't afford heat last month," I muttered. Aiden just shrugged. "They've been lying to you for years. Kara, you just refuse to see it." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I looked down at my hands, trembling, cold, always cold lately, like the warmth had been drained from me and redistributed elsewhere. It wasn't just the money. It was the rewriting of history, the illusion of support, the knowledge that every time I begged for help, they chose palm trees and cocktails instead. "How did you know?" I asked finally. Aiden leaned back, folding his arms. "Mark, my best friend is a real estate agent. They bought the place through him. They paid in cash. When I saw your name come up in a transfer receipt, I asked him to show me the papers." I stared at him, numb. "They're not broke, Kara," he said quietly. "They're just selfish." Aiden offered to stay with Riley while I recovered. For the first few days, I felt cautiously hopeful. Riley was stable. She even smiled during a video call, clutching her toy bunny as she showed me the lopsided pancakes Aiden had made. "She's okay," I whispered to myself that night. But by day 4, the cracks began to show. Aiden called just after dawn. He sounded drained. "She had a 2-hour meltdown last night. I used the wrong towel after her bath." "I told you only the gray one? She hates the green." "She refused to eat dinner, wouldn't let me brush her hair. I don't think I'm doing this right. Kara?" "You're doing your best," I said gently, but inside, my anxiety flared like a broken fire alarm. On day 6, it exploded. Riley grabbed the phone during our video call. Her face was blotchy, streaked with tears. "Why don't you love me anymore? Mommy," she cried. "I'll be good. I'll be good. Just come home." I pressed my fingers to the screen. "Baby, no, I love you so much. I'm just sick. I have to get better so I can be the best mommy for you." But the screen had already gone black. Aiden had ended the call. And I broke. The next day, I got a call from Riley's school. She got upset during group time. The vice principal said calmly. She pushed a classmate and screamed for nearly an hour. "We need someone to come get her." I stared at the hospital ceiling. My chest felt like it was filling with water. I couldn't breathe. "Her uncle is on his way," I managed to say. Minutes later, my phone pinged again. A message from my mom. Photo of their feet in the sand. Caption, "Sunset therapy, finally getting what we deserve." Below it, A voice memo played without me pressing anything. My father's voice, slightly slurred. She was always too sensitive. Now look at her, falling apart like always. She should have never had a kid. I threw the phone across the room. That afternoon, in group therapy, I met Miranda, 60, silver-haired, sharp-witted. Her son, Elijah, was autistic too, adult now, doing well, but Miranda's stories of the early years were like echoes of my own. The worst part, she said, sipping her tea, wasn't the meltdowns or the judgment. It was realizing the people who were supposed to help never would. I felt seen for the first time in years. The next morning, Aiden showed up at the hospital. His face was pale. "I'm so sorry," he said immediately. "I just got called in for a contract job in Seattle. They want me there tomorrow. I begged for time. They said it's non-negotiable. I'll lose my position if I stay." My heart dropped. "She needs someone. Aiden—" "I know," he said. Guilt splashed across his features. I looked everywhere. Agencies, friends, even former therapists. No one's available last minute. And just like that, the reality settled in. I'd have to leave the hospital early, against every doctor's warning. Again, because I had no choice. I was packing my bag, still shaky, still sleep-deprived, when Miranda walked in. "Wait," she said, calm but firm. "You do have a choice." "What do you mean?" She sat beside me. "Let me stay with Riley, just for the rest of your treatment. I know the routines. I know the signs. I've lived this. You've barely known me a week." "Sometimes," she said softly, "strangers become family faster than blood ever did." I hesitated, then opened my phone to show her a picture of Riley and me. Miranda froze. Her face drained of color. Is that Valerie?" I blinked. "That's my mom." Miranda's eyes filled with tears. "Her real name is Valerie. She's my sister." My stomach turned. "That's not possible. She never told me she had a sister." "She wouldn't. I got pregnant at 19, out of wedlock. They disowned me, changed cities, changed names." She reached into her purse and pulled out a faded photo. 2 teenage girls, arm in arm. The same bright green eyes I saw every morning in the mirror. I was staring at a version of my mother I had never seen. "There's more," Miranda said hesitantly. "For years, your parents have been sending me monthly payments. They said it was for atonement, but they made it very clear I was never to contact you or Riley." I could barely breathe. "How much were they sending you?" When she named the figure, my blood turned to ice. Exactly 1/3 of the amount I'd been wiring them each month. They weren't just lying. They were using my money to make themselves feel better for exiling the very person who now offered me a lifeline. And then, the final blow. "I should tell you one more thing," Miranda said, voice trembling. "Autism runs in our family. My son Elijah, our great-uncle. Back then, they didn't even have a name for it, but Valerie knew. She knew the risk. They made me feel like Riley's diagnosis was my fault," I whispered. "They treated me like I'd failed." "You didn't fail," Miranda said, gripping my hand. "You survived them." That night, I called the hospital psychologist. "I want to stay. Finish my treatment. Miranda will care for Riley." The words felt like an exhale after a lifetime of holding my breath. The first morning after I chose to stay, I expected panic, guilt, maybe even regret. But instead, I felt still. Miranda had taken Riley home to her quiet cottage on the edge of town, with its ivy-covered porch and shelves full of books. She texted me photos every few hours, Riley curled up in a beanbag chair, Riley walking barefoot through the garden, Riley wearing oversized headphones and helping Miranda bake muffins well, mostly stirring air, but still. It wasn't perfect. There were moments, meltdowns, and missteps, but it was working. Your daughter has an eye for rhythm. Miranda messaged me one night, sending a video of Riley tapping out a beat with a spoon and a saucepan. She and Elijah just spent 20 minutes remixing the theme song from Bluey. I cried for the third time that day. But this time, the tears weren't grief. They were relief. In therapy, I peeled off layer after layer, old wounds I hadn't dared touch, buried things I'd told myself didn't matter anymore. The guilt, the perfectionism, the sick need to earn love with sacrifice. I kept trying to be a good daughter. I admitted to Dr. Ramesh, my therapist. I kept sending money, checking in, asking for approval, and for what? What do you think their love was tied to? She asked gently. Control, I said. It was never love, it was ownership. I paused, then added, and shame. On the 9th day, I finally slept more than 4 hours. I woke up rested, for the first time in maybe a decade. My mind didn't feel like a foggy battlefield. My hands weren't shaking, my jaw wasn't clenched. I sat up and reached for my notebook. I made a list. Things I owe myself. Peace. Rest. Boundaries. Joy. Forgiveness, but only when I choose it. Later that week, I called my parents. Not to reconnect, to close the door. I know about Miranda, I said calmly. I know who she is. I know you've been paying her with my money. There was a long pause. My mother finally spoke, voice brittle. Whatever she told you, Kara. It's the truth, and it's more family than I've gotten from you in years. We were young, she said, desperate now. Our parents were strict. We didn't have a choice. You had dozens of chances to tell me the truth. I said, you chose to lie. You chose to let me think I was crazy and alone. We raised you, she snapped. We did our best. No, I said quietly. You raised me to think that love had to be earned through suffering. I ended the call, and I didn't look back. On my final day of inpatient care, Dr. Ramesh asked if I felt ready. I don't think I'll ever feel ready, I admitted, but I feel capable. That's new. She smiled. Sometimes the strongest decision is choosing to stay standing. When I stepped outside the hospital, Miranda was waiting. Riley ran straight into my arms, her toy bunny clutched tight in one hand, the other wrapped around my neck. You're better now, she asked into my shoulder. I'm getting there, I whispered. That evening, Miranda sat beside me on the porch while Riley and Elijah chased fireflies in the yard. David, my son, he wants to teach Riley to code, she said. He said she reminds him of himself at her age. She'd love that, I replied. I think he sees her, Miranda continued, in a way most people don't. We sat in silence for a while. Then I said, I think he's the first person who ever truly gets her. The next day, I listed our old house. Too big, too full of ghosts, too expensive. I used the proceeds to buy a small, charming home just down the road from Miranda. A pale blue cottage with creaky wood floors, giant windows, and a fenced garden Riley could fill with rocks and feathers and glitter, as she pleased. I painted her bedroom in ocean tones. Miranda helped sew blackout curtains. Elijah brought over a second-hand keyboard and taught her how to play one note at a time. It became our soft landing. A place to rebuild. 2 weeks later, I returned to teaching on my terms. I pitched a part-time role with a neurodiverse inclusive classroom, a space where kids with all kinds of minds could learn together, safely and compassionately. To my surprise, the school board said yes. The program started small, 4 students, a blend of sensory corners, visual schedules, ads, and hands-on activities. But within months, parents started reaching out. My son finally enjoys school again. My daughter made a friend for the first time. It was working. And for once, I was too. One sunny afternoon in October, I opened the front door to find my parents standing there. They looked different. No flashy jewelry, no designer bags, just tired faces and a nervous energy I didn't recognize. "We need to talk," my dad said. "We're losing the condo," my mom added. "The bank won't refinance. They say we don't have the income." I waited. And I said, "We need help," she said, voice shaking, "just for the deposit, to keep the place." I let the silence stretch until it was almost unbearable. Then I said, "I can't help you anymore." My mom flinched, "But we're your family." I stepped outside and gently closed the door behind me. "You made choices," I said, "and I'm making mine now." That night, I journaled every word, every boundary, every broken piece I chose not to carry anymore. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. Weeks passed. Then one day, Miranda handed me her phone. A text thread from my mother. "We've started the autism awareness course. We want to do better. If there's ever a chance to know Riley again, we want to earn it." Attached was a photo of their completion certificate. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I watched Riley play tag with Elijah under the sycamore tree, her laughter loud and bright. She was okay. We were okay. And someday, when I was ready, we'd talk. But not because I owed them anything. Because I was choosing it. A year ago, I collapsed in a 5th grade classroom surrounded by concerned kids and fluorescent lights. Today, I watched my daughter sprint through a pile of autumn leaves, arms outstretched, laughing so hard she hiccuped. She wore a purple hoodie, her bunny tucked in the front pocket like a sidekick. David chased after her, pretending to be a robot. Elijah watched from the porch, tapping a rhythm on his laptop keyboard that Riley echoed with sticks on the steps. And Miranda, my aunt, my unexpected anchor, handed me a mug of chamomile tea and said, "I think we're going to be okay." And we were not perfect, not easy, but undeniably okay. We moved into our little blue cottage just as the first frost hit the edges of the grass. Riley immediately claimed the sunniest room and filled it with her favorite things: glitter pens, sensory puzzles, and a shelf of carefully arranged smooth stones. The backyard became her sanctuary. She decorated the fence with wind chimes and pinwheels, planted tulips with Miranda, wrote her name on the mailbox in bold purple crayon. For the first time ever, she didn't flinch at every sound, didn't need to script her sentences to be heard. She just was. I settled into part-time teaching, splitting my days between the school and Riley's new rhythm. Every afternoon, she'd run into my arms, cheeks pink from play, proudly showing me whatever she'd coded or painted with David and Miranda. My classroom thrived, too. By spring, we had 12 students, half neurodivergent, half not. They learned math through baking, science through gardening, social skills through storytelling circles and shared art. The parents grateful, Some cried during conferences. This is the first year my son didn't fake being sick to avoid school, one said. Another whispered, "You help me see that my daughter isn't broken. She's just wired differently." That was the magic. Not fixing, just understanding. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Mom, we just completed the second part of the autism training. We're trying to do the work. We hope one day you'll give us a chance to know Riley, to know you." No guilt, no demands, just effort. I stared at the message for a long time. Then, slowly, I typed, "Let's meet at the park. Sunday, 3 p.m. You can see her, but it'll be short and supervised." I hit send. My hands were steady. That Sunday, they arrived looking unfamiliar, older, softer. My mother wore sneakers instead of heels. My dad held a small box in his hands like it might bite him. Riley sat beside me on the park bench, chewing her sleeve, watching, waiting. When they approached, I knelt beside her. "You remember Nana and Papa?" She nodded, but didn't speak. "Would you like to say hi or just wave today?" She lifted her hand and waved. My mother's eyes filled instantly. My dad blinked fast. "That's okay," I said quietly. "That's a big hello." We kept it short, 20 minutes of slow conversation and cautious questions. My parents didn't force hugs, didn't press, just asked about Riley's new garden, her coating with David, her favorite color still blue, always blue. They left with red eyes and a promise to keep learning. I didn't promise anything back. But I didn't shut the door either. And that, I think, was the difference. Back at home, Riley ran straight into Miranda's arms. I waved, she shouted. Miranda hugged her tight. "That's amazing, sweetheart. So brave." And I stood in the kitchen, watching them, feeling a strange mix of pride and grief. Pride in Riley's courage. Grief for the years I spent giving that kind of love to people who didn't deserve it. But grief doesn't mean I failed. It means I finally know what I deserve. Months passed, then summer came. We hosted a neighborhood picnic in Miranda's yard, nothing fancy, just paper plates, chalk art, and a makeshift sprinkler. Riley made her first real friend, a boy named Theo who also wore noise-canceling headphones and liked to draw dinosaurs with 6 legs. They built a fort under the porch and invited David to be their tech support. Later, she ran up to me, holding a small cardboard box. "I made something," she said, "for kids like me." Inside was a collection of emotion cards, each with a different drawing and phrase. One showed a girl with her hands over her ears, "I need a quiet space." Another had a green heart, "This makes me happy." "I want to give these to the school," Riley said, "so other kids can say stuff even when words are hard." I knelt down and kissed her forehead. "You're changing the world, baby." She beamed. By autumn, the garden Miranda started with Riley had grown wild and beautiful. Sunflowers leaned toward the porch, lavender spilled over the walkway, painted rocks dotted the soil like little secrets. One day, while we were trimming the tomato vines, Riley looked up at me and asked, "Do I have 2 moms now?" "Why do you ask?" I said. "Well, you're my mom. But Miranda makes me snacks and sings when I cry. That's kind of a mom too, right?" I smiled. "She's your aunt, but also your family, just like David and Elijah." Riley nodded. "That's a good kind of family." It really was. Later that night, I pulled out an old notebook. the one I'd started in the hospital. I turned to the list titled, Things I Owe Myself. I added one more. Joy without permission. Winter came softly. Riley built a snow bunny instead of a snowman. David taught her how to animate its ears in a little app they created together. Miranda knitted her a hat with little sparkly stars on it. We spent Christmas in the cottage with hot cocoa and a puzzle that Riley finished almost entirely on her own. We didn't have a tree full of expensive gifts or a trip to a resort. We had quiet laughter, warmth, safety. And honestly, that was richer than anything I'd ever known. One afternoon in January, I visited the old family home, not to go back but to say goodbye. I walked through the empty halls one last time, running my fingers over the scuffed paint, the corner where Riley once lined up her toy cars in perfect color order. I stood in the kitchen where I'd once sobbed at midnight, papers spread everywhere, wondering how much longer I could do this alone. And then I walked out, closed the door behind me, and never turned back. The night before Riley started second grade, she climbed into my lap and asked, "Can I stay this happy forever?" I kissed her cheek. "We'll try, baby, we'll try." Because happiness isn't a place you reach. It's a thing you plant and water and protect together. 1 year after my collapse, I stood in our garden and watched Riley help Elijah plant daisies. Her laughter floated up like music. I snapped a photo. The caption I wrote, "A year ago, I hit rock bottom. Today, my daughter is blooming, and so am I." The truth I thought I needed to sacrifice everything to be a good mom. But what Riley needed was for me to be whole. Not perfect, just real. She didn't need a martyr. She needed a mother who chooses joy. Who says no to the wrong people? Who makes space for the right ones? And who teaches her by example that love is not pain, not debt, not silence? It's this right here. Mud on our shoes, glitter on our kitchen table, laughing too loud and hugging too tight and healing over and over again. And if anyone reading this is stuck where I was overwhelmed, betrayed, exhausted, please hear me. You don't need to break to earn rest. You don't have to prove your worth by setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Family isn't who takes from you. It's who sees you, and stays, and holds the shovel while you dig yourself out. That's the kind of family we're building now. One wildflower at a time. Story 3. They cropped me out of the photo. Not figuratively, literally. One look at the Instagram post, and there it was, everyone in my family smiling and matching outfits. Everyone but me. I wasn't just missing, I was erased. Preversary photo shoot, the caption read, "So excited to celebrate 50 years of love." Funny, I didn't know there was a photo shoot. Hi, I'm Caleb. I'm 34, an architect based in Chicago, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I was part of a family. Let me take you back to the start of the unraveling. It was a regular Wednesday, late afternoon, sunlight filtering into my office downtown. I was sketching out the final lines of a community center atrium clean, curved beams I'd been obsessed with getting just right. Then my phone buzzed. My mom's face popped up, smiling, last Christmas, the last time I'd made it home to Connecticut. "Hey, Mom," I answered, wedging the phone between my shoulder and cheek. "Caleb, honey, my favorite designer, how's my genius boy?" Her Boston roots still clung to her voice. even after 30 years in New Haven. Busy as usual? How are you and Dad holding up? Oh, you know, he's out there waging war against the hedges again. I swear, one of these days, I'll find him tangled in the rose bush with the shears. We laughed, easy and familiar. I transferred $1.200 into the family account while she rambled about garden tools and raccoons. I already booked my flight for the anniversary. I said, Thursday through Monday. I told Ivy weeks ago. Silence. You did. Yeah, back in January, I blocked off the time. It's been on my calendar for months. Well, her voice dropped. You know how your sister is. 3 kids, chaotic mornings, things slip. Yeah, things slip. We hung up, and almost instantly a notification from Instagram pinged. My niece had tagged a photo. Everyone was there. My parents, Ivy, her husband Nate, their 3 kids, even Uncle Brian, who never shows up for anything, and Ivy's caption, "Can't wait to celebrate next month." I zoomed in, matching outfits, coordinated poses, a professionally staged shoot on the front lawn of the house I grew up in. No mention of me. I called Ivy. She picked up, chewing something. Hey, Caleb. Just saw Lily's post. There was a family photo shoot. Oh, it was kinda last minute. Didn't want to bother you. You're always slammed with work. I paused. I told you I was coming for the anniversary. I literally blocked out the dates with you on the phone. Huh. Must have slipped my mind. Don't take it personally. It was just casual. Casual. The custom outfits, the lighting, the captions. That was not casual. Ivy, I said carefully, I've been covering the bills for Mom and Dad's house for the last 6 months. I helped pick the venue for the party. I set up the family fund. Yeah, and you love reminding people. Her tone was light, dismissive, like I was the overdramatic one. After she hung up, I sat in silence, then opened the family account. It was supposed to be simple. I'd fund it. Ivy, living close by, would handle day-to-day things for our parents. I'd insisted she manage it with me so nothing slipped through the cracks. Except it was all slipping, right through my fingers. I scrolled through transactions. Some looked normal: plumber, grocery store, party deposit. Others, less so. $2.900 at Nordstrom. $1.750 at a boutique spa in Maine. $3.800 labeled decorations, TBD. Decorations. I hadn't even gotten a proper invite yet. That night, I barely slept. At 5:07 a.m., I gave up and made coffee. The lake outside my apartment was still cloaked in fog, barely hinting at sunrise. My mind went back to our house in Guilford. 2 stories, blue shutters, wind chimes that always tangled in the wind. I remembered being 10 years older than Ivy. I used to walk her to preschool when Mom worked nights. Take care of your sister, Mom would whisper, handing me both our lunches. I'd been doing it ever since. Mowing lawns at 14, stashing half the cash in a tin marked for groceries. Even when I left for college at Tulane, I sent money home when I could. Then came grad school in Chicago, then my first real job. I paid off their mortgage without telling them, quietly. Ivy always said I was the golden boy, but she was the one there, physically. So it became our system. I paid, she planned. Apparently, she was also rewriting history. A few hours later, Aunt Jo called, my mom's younger sister. We don't talk often. Sweetie, she said, her voice low, I didn't know you weren't invited to the shoot. Ivy said you weren't coming. I rubbed my temples. She knew I was. She's been saying you pulled out, that you're detached. Honestly, Caleb, she's been framing the whole thing like she's doing it all alone. She borrowed $3,000 from me last month, Joe added. Said you refused to help. I nearly dropped my mug. I transferred $10K in February, paid the venue deposit directly. That's what I thought. I stared at the ceiling, breath caught in my throat. Joe sighed. Look, I don't want to stir the pot, but I think Ivy's been curating a version of this family where you're absent, and she's the savior. I'd been supporting from the shadows, but the version Ivy told. I was the flake, the selfish brother who bailed and only showed up to cut checks and take credit. And I wasn't just erased from a photo. I was being erased, period. By the next morning, I wasn't angry. Not really. I was cold, focused, the kind of stillness that comes after too many little storms. I opened my laptop and pulled up the account again. 6 months of transactions, line by line. The numbers didn't lie. Neither did the Cancun photos Ivy posted in March. Cocktails, hammocks, ocean view. #family first? That family didn't include me. I cross-checked dates. A $4.200 withdrawal labeled event prep matched perfectly with the week she and Nate were in Mexico. She didn't even try to hide it. There were more. $850 at a salon. $1.200 at Saks. 3 $500 cash withdrawals with no notes at all. Meanwhile, the actual anniversary expenses, the caterer, venue, florist, just under $4,500 combined. She was using the family fund as her personal bank account and painting me as the no-show son who couldn't be bothered. I called my mom. "Hey, sweetheart," she answered, breathless. "What a surprise twice in 1 week." "Hi, Mom, I wanted to check in about the anniversary. I'm flying in early. Can't wait to see everyone." Pause. "Oh, well, Ivy said you might not be comfortable. After the breakup." "What?" "With Sam," she thought. "Well, maybe you'd prefer to skip this one." "Sam and I split a year ago. Clean, quiet. We even had lunch a few weeks back when he visited Chicago." "I never said that," I replied, "and Ivy knows it." "She also mentioned your new project's been intense. I just assumed you might need space." It was the way she said it, careful, unsure, like she was tiptoeing through something she didn't quite believe herself. "I make time for what matters. Mom, you know that." After we hung up, I stared at my phone. Then it buzzed. A text from Ivy. "Please don't put Mom in an awkward position. This is their day, not yours. You haven't contributed to any of the planning." I blinked. Not contributed. I scrolled to my banking app, took a screenshot of the transfer receipts, and hovered over her contact. But I didn't send it. Instead, I called Nate. "Hey Caleb, what's up?" His voice was casual, kids shouting in the background. "I'm confused about something." I said, "Ivy told Mom I'm not coming, and apparently I haven't helped with the planning." He hesitated. Yeah, Ivy said you were tight on cash, that your architecture firm had a rough year, so she's been covering the costs." Tight on cash. "I've put $15,000 into the fund. I paid for the venue myself. I even paid for the upgraded catering package. What's she been covering?" Dead silence. Daybreak. Finally, wow, I didn't know. Do me a favor, I said, ask her. That evening, I called her. No intro, no pleasantries. You've been lying to everyone. What are you talking about, she said, defensive already. You told Mom I'm skipping the anniversary. You told Nate I'm broke. You've been using the fund for your spa days and beach vacations. I've seen every transaction. You're exaggerating, she snapped. Do you know how much pressure I'm under taking care of them? You just send money and disappear? That's not the same as being here. This isn't about presents, I said calmly. It's about honesty. Her voice went icy. Keep this up and you'll ruin everything. Do you really want to make a scene in front of Mom and Dad? You'll only prove their golden boy isn't so golden. Click. She hung up. 15 minutes later, a message came through from an unknown number. Hi Caleb, this is Denise from Harborview Events. We still haven't received the remaining balance for the event. If we don't get payment by tomorrow, we'll have to cancel. I stared at the message. The event I'd funded, the deposit I'd sent, all in my name. I had a choice. Let it fall apart, let the lies collapse on their own. Or fix it, again, quietly. I texted back, send me the invoice, I'll cover it. The next day, I flew to New Haven. Not Saturday, not even Friday night. Thursday. No one expected me. When Mom opened the door, she blinked like she was seeing a ghost. Then she pulled me into a hug so tight, I almost forgot why I came. Until Ivy's voice called out, "Who is it, Mom?" She came into the hall, holding a clipboard, half a smile frozen on her face. Oh, you decided to show up early. I wanted to help, I said lightly, stepping inside. Dad came around the corner, his usual quiet self. Caleb, he said with a nod, didn't know you were coming this soon. I thought I'd make myself useful. In the kitchen, over tea, the truth started to bubble. I noticed Harborview was missing part of the payment, I said, looking at Ivy. I took care of it, she said quickly. No, I said gently, I did, yesterday, after Denise called me. Dad frowned. She said it was covered. She told a lot of people a lot of things. Ivy stood. Here we go. This is exactly what I warned you about. Caleb wants credit for everything. He can't just let things be. I don't want credit. I said, I want clarity. Dad's voice cut through the room. Enough. His face was hard. If you two want to argue, do it somewhere else. Not here, not this weekend. Mom looked down, tears in her eyes. I just wanted this to be peaceful. Ivy stormed out. I followed her to the porch. I didn't mean to ruin anything, I said softly, but you've been dishonest. Why? Her arms were crossed, eyes staring out over the yard. Because I'm tired of being second, she said finally. Even when you're not here, you're all they talk about. Caleb this, Caleb that. I plan everything, I manage everything, and they still worship the son who lives 2 states away. I didn't know what to say, because part of me understood, but none of that justified what she did. You could have talked to me, I said. I would have listened. She shook her head. You don't get it. You never had to earn your place. That stung. But I didn't argue. Inside, I found Mom in the living room, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry, I said, for the tension, for everything. She took my hand. I never doubted you. Caleb, I just didn't know how deep it ran. Later that night, Aunt Jo stopped by my hotel. She handed me a folder. Thought you might want to see this, she said. Inside were emails, texts, screenshots, all from family members. Ivy had asked for money from 4 different relatives, said I refused to help, claimed I was too busy, said she was on her own. Even worse, she told Lily, their 10-year-old, that I might not show up because he gets nervous around crowds.